welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, we have some Texans injury updates that we have to go through. Also, Jimmie Ward, he could be returning. He just got off the NFL exempt list, the commissioner's exempt list. We'll talk about what that means for this Texans defense moving forward. Also, who's the Texans left guard? Because it was a revolving door in Week 3 up against Jacksonville. And lastly, can the Texans repeat history? We'll look forward to this Texans schedule and look at the likelihood that we can pull another rabbit out of our hat. Now, before we get going on today's show, we are so close to 35,000 subscribers. I want to thank each and every one of you who's clicked into today's video, who's already hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't, give me 1 week. Hit that subscribe button and let me prove to you why this is the #1 Texans channel here on YouTube. We're so close to 35,000 subscribers. This is the #1 Texans channel because of y'all out there. The viewers, everybody at home watching these videos. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't hit that sub button, please do so we can make this the top NFL channel here on YouTube. All right, let's break down these Texans injury updates. First off, we all know Derek Stingley, he left that Jacksonville game midway through, did not return. Probably not even midway through, maybe the start of the second quarter. Did not see him for the rest of the game. It's an oblique injury, and they're saying it's day-to-day. So we probably won't know until maybe Thursday or Friday after a couple days of practice whether or not Derek Stingley will be good to go for this Week 4 matchup up against the Tennessee Titans. We do know a couple guys will not be available in Week 4. First off, third-round pick, backup cornerback Jaylin Smith moved to IR. He won't be able to return until Week 8 with the hamstring injury. 4 weeks minimum he'll have to sit out. So not good news on that front, especially for this corner depth. They didn't get burned, but also the Jags receivers were dropping balls left and right. So I don't really know how to evaluate this Texans secondary, especially if Stingley's hurt as well. A lot of depth issues in the secondary, and I talked about that before the season started, and didn't seem like we really addressed that much this going into the season, Nick Caserio. Also, on the wide receiver front, Justin Watson also moved to IR. Maybe a little bit of old news here, but that Achilles injury, same thing with Jaylin Smith, won't be able to return for 4 weeks. So we will be without our 7th wide receiver, who maybe this is a blessing in disguise because, you know, he was getting more targets than Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll. I want to see the rookies ball out. Nothing against Justin Watson, but maybe this is a blessing in disguise to get some of those younger guys a little bit more active in the game planning. Also, Cade Stover, we talked about it. After that Week 1 game, there's still hope for a return for Cade Stover. He had a hairline fracture in his foot, needed surgery, got it fixed. There's still hope that he'll be able to return at some point this season, so I'll keep you updated with Stover and his rehab process and when we could maybe be expecting the second-year man out of Ohio State to return to this Texans lineup. Another kind of batch of guys who could be able to return after this week. Obviously, Joe Mixon, still the biggest question mark around this team. He's able to return after Week 5. Will he return at all this year is the major question. Denico Autry, Jaylen Reed, I expect those guys to make a return in Week 5. And then Jimmie Ward, defensive back, who we'll talk about here in just a moment. But before we get into Jimmie Ward, I want to know, what injury do you think affected this team the most this season? Is it Joe Mixon? I know it sounds dumb. Is it Brevin Jordan, the 2nd/3rd tight end? He was looking really good in training camp in the preseason. Did that affect this team the most? Was it a different injury? Let me know down in the comment section. What injury do you think has affected this team the most? I'm still going to go with Joe Mixon, and even though Nick Chubb's looked good, Woody Marks, I think, has shown flashes, Joe Mixon is special. And not having him out there, you can really see the difference in this Texans offense. Even an offense that wasn't that great last year, it seemed to kind of be on the decline a little bit more during this season. Now, I told you we're going to talk about Jimmie Ward, so let's do that right now. Adam Schefter coming in with the news. The NFL removed Texans safety Jimmie Ward from the commissioner's exempt list today. This was yesterday. Ward has missed 3 games since being placed on the list on August 26th following a legal incident in June. In accordance with the personal conduct policy, that review will remain ongoing and is not affected by the change in Ward's roster status. The club has placed Ward on reserve/PUP list. Players unable to perform. Won't be able to return until Week 5, but we'll see how that goes. I don't know if that's the answer. I don't think the Texans defense has necessarily been the problem, but maybe with all the injuries that the Texans have had in the secondary and on their defense, this is going to be maybe a welcome addition to this defense. Somebody, a veteran, somebody who's been with Denico, somebody who understands this defense. Maybe that'll help this Texans team moving forward. Maybe a little bit more leadership in the locker room as another veteran will rejoin the team as Jimmie Ward looks to get back to playing this season for the Houston Texans. Now coming up, who's the left guard for this Texans team? Really, who do we think it is going to be? I'll break down that here in just a moment, but couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors over there at Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. I love Prize Picks. My producer, Xavier, he loves himself some Prize Picks, and I know you will too. Go head over to Prize Picks right now and get started with the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. Look at Drewski. Look how happy he is there on the left side. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And for this week, Prize Picks, there's some great deals on tap for you today. This is my lineup going into this weekend's games. They have a great deal. Jalen Hurts, all he needs is 1 passing yard. I know Chris Jones was messing with them saying you can't even get 100 passing yards. I think Jalen Hurts is going to get 1 passing yard. So, yeah, I'll take that deal every single day of the week, twice on Sundays from Prize Picks. And then I paired that with 2 more projections. Give me C.J. Stroud more than 16.5 rushing yards. Even though he's been still under duress, I think he's done a better job this season of moving around in the pocket and scrambling for first downs. 16.5 rush yards. That's the most that he's been projected all year long. I'm still going with the more, though, on that one. And then Tony Pollard, the Texans' run defense, showed up big time up against the Jags in Week 3. So give me Tony Pollard to get less than 64.5 rush yards. You can use my lineup or go ahead and make your own over at Prize Picks. And Prize Picks also invented something called the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And that's big in this week, and especially this lineup I'm showing you right now, because you got one with Jalen Hurts and the passing yards. So really, you just either got to get C.J. Stroud or Tony Pollard to get their projection, and you can win some money. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, coming up, who is playing left guard for your Houston Texans? Because it was, snip, snap, snip, snap, back and forth all week 3 up against Jacksonville. It was hard for me to kind of take into account who was playing when, because I'd look up and it'd be a new guy in there at left guard. I was like, is there injury? Is there this and that? No, they're just doing a left guard by committee, I guess. This coming in from Aaron Wilson. Laken Tomlinson started and played 43% of the left guard snaps, rotating with Scruggs, who played 57% of the left guard snaps. Whatever it takes to win, I've always been a team player. I'll do whatever the coaches ask of me. That is a direct quote from Laken Tomlinson. And basically, yeah, they split the reps 50-50, I guess 43-57 between Laken Tomlinson and Scruggs. And Laken has not played that well this year. He was one of the kind of bargain bin free agent additions that Nick Caserio touted as somebody who could revitalize his Texans offensive line. That has not been the case so far. Him next to the rookie Ariante Ursery on the left side, they've had some struggles in these past couple of weeks, and that has led to the Texans, maybe Cole Popovich, maybe Nick Caley, maybe D'Amico Ryans, maybe a mix of those 3 guys making the decision to switch Tomlinson and Scruggs out between the 2. Now, I think Scruggs played a little better than Tomlinson did. He actually had the highest PFF pass blocking grade in Week 3 for the Texans. He also had bottom 5 overall PFF grade. So take with that what you will, but I think he did play a little bit better than Laken Tomlinson. What say you, though? Who do you think should start this week at left guard? Do you think it's Laken Tomlinson? Type LT down in the comment section. Or do you think it's Juice Type JS down below. I'll be looking down in the comment section. Let your voice be heard. Who do you think should start at left guard? I'm going to say it again. I think it should be Juice. The former second-round pick out of Penn State. Maybe he's coming around. Maybe finally the Texans, second-round pick, one of their offensive linemen that they drafted early on, maybe pan out being a serviceable starter, somebody who can play, who can start for you. Okay, I'll take it. I want to see what Juice can do there at the left guard spot. Laken Tomlinson, we know what he is. He's a veteran. He's been in this league for a while. Maybe you take your chances on an 0-3 team with somebody like Juice Scruggs to see if he can step up and play to that level of competition that you need at the left guard spot. But all I know is this offseason, I don't want to hear anything from Caserio, from D'Amico Ryans, from anybody in this front office about why we can't add offensive linemen. This team better bring in 4 O-linemen through the offseason, either via high draft picks, good free agents, or if there's anybody maybe available on the trade market. Because it is unacceptable to have a franchise quarterback who you want to be your franchise quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Half the fan base seems like they're already out on him, but you're not even protecting him. It's giving shades of David Carr in the beginning of this Texans franchise, where you have a quarterback who has promise, who has a lot of just ability to stand back there and be a gunslinger, but is just getting beaten up week after week because you can't put a group of 5 men in front of him to protect him. This offensive line has been very weary. Maybe the only bright spot, in my opinion, Tytus Howard. I think he's played well at the right tackle spot. Maybe a couple penalties have plagued him a little bit here and there, but so far, he's been the only one that I think has played solid week in and week out. Obviously, you have Ursary, who you hope pans out at left tackle, but a roller coaster beginning of the year for the rookie left tackle out of Minnesota. Jake Andrews, injured in week 1, has been okay. Ed Ingram, Laken Tomlinson, You need offensive linemen, and you need them bad. So if they don't add them next offseason, Caserio, here's the door. You can leave. Because if you're not adding offensive linemen, what are we doing? Everybody says, and it's maybe one of the biggest cliches, but cliches are cliches for a reason. Because there's a shade of truth to them. The games are won in the trenches. And the Texans, they don't give a shit about the offensive trenches. They've proven that. They traded away your star left tackle. They replaced him with a second-round pick and a bunch of bargain bin guys. That's not going to work. That's not going to work, Caserio. So you better figure it out this offseason, maybe even throughout the season if you can add another offensive lineman, because we know that there's a scarcity of offensive line talent in the NFL, so I don't know how you're going to do that, possibly via trade by another bad team. But this offseason, there's no excuse for this Texans front office, for this Texans franchise to not add at least 3 or 4 new offensive linemen up front that can possibly start for you next season. Now, last up, let's take a look ahead for this Texans squad, and is it possible to repeat history? We've heard it over and over again. The last team to go 0-3 and make the playoffs was the 2018 Houston Texans. Before that, 1998, the Buffalo Bills. They were the former team to make the playoffs after going 0-3. So, yeah, 1998 to 2018, a 20-year stretch. So, not very likely. But let's see how the Texans can fare. Week 4 against the Titans. I mean, if you don't win that, I am packing it up. I'm looking at in January to see what Cancun, Cabo resorts are open and what's in my price range. That's what's happening if we lose week 4. I'm looking at the Bahamas, Jamaicas for late January if we lose week 4. Because I don't think there's any chance the Texans are playing in late January if we don't beat the Tennessee Titans. I don't think the Texans deserve to sniff the playoffs if we can't beat the Tennessee Titans. Their head coach doesn't know what a catch is, and he just got the play calling duties taken away from him. If we lose, that is embarrassment is an understatement if we lose this week 4 game up against Tennessee. Then week 5, you're playing in Baltimore. They've lost multiple close games. They're a great team, a really good roster. They're going to be playing with their hair on fire in week 5. And you're playing in Baltimore. Good luck with that. Then you have week 6, a bye week, an early bye week, maybe needed because this Texans team is all out of sorts. You follow that up immediately with a primetime game, Monday Night Football up against the Seattle Seahawks. And then week 8, at home against the 49ers. You got to win 3 of these games. I mean, honestly, you got to win all 4 of these games if you want this Texans fan base to be back. If you want a good chance, any chance to win this division or sniff the playoffs, you've got to turn it around, and you got to do it now. Now, I don't want to look too far ahead because we know the old cliche of trap game. When you look at the game next, that's much tougher. You usually overlook your opponent this week. And there's a lot of things the Titans do that the Texans don't do very well. So stylistically, the Titans have a couple advantages over the Texans. Even though the Texans overall, I think, are a better team, you cannot take Tennessee lightly. You got to win this game. And then week 5, we got to show up and show out for everybody in H-Town if we want anybody to pack NRG Stadium. Or at that point, might as well just, give away free Texans tickets whenever you get Chick-fil-A on Saturdays. Because nobody's going to be going to home games if you lose 2 of these games. I promise you that. It's going to be empty towards the end of the year because Houston fans know we deserve better. And Texans fans, we've been here before. We need this team to show up, show out, and show us you have some heart. Show us you have any semblance of willpower, of fight to turn this season around and hopefully make the playoffs. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. You can hit me up on Twitter at Jeremy Chugs. My DMs are always open if you want to chop it up around the Houston Texans. Have any questions about what I talked about today, you can always hit me up. And if you made it to the end of the video, absolute real one, spam those H's. And if you haven't already, we're so close to 35,000 subscribers. Make sure you hit that sub button for daily Texans videos all year long. I got you covered.